started. So hi everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about Canasta. So I want to start off by, posing a few philosophical questions. Have you ever been worried about the long and arduous upgrade process of MediaWiki? Are you tired of spending hours upon hours on installing the dozens of extensions and skins that are necessary for a wiki? Are you worried about automating the complex tasks for maintenance and running other backup scripts and whatnot? Well, if so, then this presentation is for you. And if not, if you like to waste time on menial MediaWiki maintenance, this presentation is still going to be cool, so you should still listen in. So my name is Jeffrey Wang. I am the founder of MyWikis. My day job is I work for Microsoft as software engineer, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about, I guess, a revolutionary, I think that's the right word, new approach to running MediaWiki. It's called Canasta. So I'm going to give an introduction of what Canasta is for those who are unfamiliar with it, and including how you can use Semantic MediaWiki on Canasta. And then I'll talk about some updates for the project since our initial release at SMWCon in April of this year. So most of us here know how to install MediaWiki the old-fashioned way, right? So you start with a LAMP stack, and then you run the installation manually, and you take several hours, and then add other stuff to it. So this manner of installation is considered outdated in general in 2022. And I think it's easy to see why, right? There's so many issues with this approach. Installation is hard, scaling is difficult, backups are cheap to set up. You have to install the extensions and skins manually. Upgrades are long and error prone because there's so many steps, and if you do one of them wrong or they're out of order, your wiki is screwed up. Cron jobs have to be created from scratch. Configuration is easy to mess up and easy to get drifted away as well. So in today's world, these problems are a serious impediment to the successful operation and maintenance of wikis. So the question is, can we make a solution to this problem that's easy to install, upgrade, and maintain? If it's scalable, can we get a solution that contains built-in support for automation and backups? And can we have a solution that will drift away from configuration drift? So can we fix it? And the answer is yes, we can, just like Bob the Builder. And the solution to these problems is called Canasta. So what exactly is Canasta? For those of you who are new to Canasta, it's an all-in-one MediaWiki package for sysadmins that makes it easy to manage MediaWiki. You can add extensions easily and load starter content and data structures with it. So if MediaWiki is a Raspberry Pi, then you can think of Canasta as a can of kit. So instead of getting MediaWiki on your own, spending hours upon hours, getting introduced to the various extensions, learning how to install difficult install extensions like Serious Search and Semantic MediaWiki, and then finally trying to set up the structured wiki, well, you've just wasted a day or two. And instead, you could just reduce the time of live to your wiki by using Canasta and configuring everything with ease. So that's why we call Canasta a comfy home for your data. And sysadmins can literally save days of unnecessary work just by using Canasta. We were originally developed by a mini consortium of 3 companies in the enterprise MediaWiki industry, WikiWorks, WikiTech, and MyWikis. We all share a common goal in sponsoring the development of Canasta, which is to make a fully featured, easy to maintain MediaWiki instance possible for all to use, not controlled by any single entity, and available online as free and open source software. We want to make sysadmins' jobs much easier, especially for that reluctant sysadmin who has to do it because they just want to run a wiki for their company. So Canasta is built off the ubiquitous Docker containerization technology and is the first, I guess, public release general purpose open source Docker-based containerization solution that's standalone for running MediaWiki. So gone are the days of Dockerizing MediaWiki by yourself. Now it's as simple as using one of our stacks for either Docker Compose or Kubernetes. And each of those stacks provide MediaWiki running on the latest LTS version with over 100 extensions and skins at your disposal to easily install. But Canasta is not simply a Docker image. Canasta is actually comprised of 3 components that are closely intertwined, plus I guess a 4th one now. The foundation of Canasta is the tech stack. It's what makes MediaWiki easier to manage and enables the other 2 components to make maximal impact. On top of the tech stack is Canasta's large extension and skin collection, comprised of over 100 extension skins that are bundled with Canasta and are made extremely easy to install. And then finally, the top is Canasta's starter page layouts and data structures. And this aims to solve the blank page problem by reducing contribution inertia and providing best practices for contributors to use. And these components work together to provide the value that Canasta aims to deliver. I think the foundational component and what people usually ask most questions about is our tech stack. And in making the Canasta tech stack, we keep true to 7 goals. So first, we're fully open source because we want Canasta to be a community effort and for our products to be accessible to everybody. Second, Canasta is always intended to be as convenient as possible for that sysadmin in both usage and feature set. So third, Canasta will stick true to core MediaWiki. Rather than trying to replace MediaWiki, we only want to build on top of it. Fourth, Canasta's development direction emphasizes stability, and this is important for companies and organizations who cannot afford to undergo an upgrade every single month. We prioritize getting Canasta using latest long-term support version, and we're going to preserve, tagged recent older versions of Canasta in our container registry so that you can continue to refer back to those as needed. Fifth, Canasta will continue to support all the customizations that anyone should be able to make to any standard MediaWiki instance. So what that means is if you are porting from a heavily customized MediaWiki instance, Canasta should be drag and drop for you. Sixth, Canasta makes good on our open source promise by introducing official ways of creating derivatives of Canasta and extending the functionality of the Canasta stack itself. We recognize that there's a myriad of situations where things might want to be changed a little bit. And some people might want to use the Canasta image in a different way. And so by allowing derivative images to be created, it places the power in the community and not just the ones who are developing Canasta. And last but not least, Canasta is meant to work with source control. So you can keep track of your wiki's configuration in Git. And this is possible since Canasta is designed to separate the configuration from the code. So for both bundled and user installed skins and extensions, you can use wfload extension and wfload skin without the need to specify whether it's bundled or user installed. And so how does it just work automatically? Well, since they're bundled in Canasta, our magic in the background will point MediaWiki to the bundled versions of the extension files. And adding these extensions is really as easy as adding a line to load the extension and skin, which everyone's used to, plus any configuration that skin or extension requires. And then you just restart the Canasta container and you're ready to go. It's super easy. And you don't have to go to MediaWiki.org and download everything. With the Canasta stack, you get a variety of advantages over the regular way of using MediaWiki. Because we have streamlined installation instructions and only rely on Docker, it's really quick to get it working from scratch. Canasta basically maintains itself, and it's easy to upgrade MediaWiki because all you need to do is pull the newest version of the Canasta image and restart, and your wiki will be upgraded as part of the container startup process. Canasta, by separating configuration from code and using ephemeral Docker containers, eliminates problems of configuration drift. Leveraging Docker allows Canasta to scale vertically and horizontally easily with your choice of orchestration tool. Even with the ease of installation, Canasta does not sacrifice staying true to how vanilla MediaWiki works and does not forget about its roots. It's written as a compatibility layer over pure MediaWiki, so it doesn't aim to change that vanilla MediaWiki functionality in a way that compromises our ability to support later versions of MediaWiki or prevent the use of anything that can work on vanilla MediaWiki. And in fact, we want to stay as close to the Wikimedia Foundation stack as possible. So that's why we've chosen to use Debian as the base image for the Canasta application's image, for instance. It's fast and straightforward to port over an existing MediaWiki instance to Canasta with potentially 0 configuration changes to make. This is because Canasta uses the same local settings file as vanilla MediaWiki does. Last but not least, by using and developing Canasta, stakeholders can benefit from each other's contributions to the project, which allows us to reduce our time spent updating Canasta and its components and lets us regain time to better serve ourselves or our clients. Despite Canasta being very full-featured, we've actually made it really easy to both set up and switch to. So once you've installed Canasta, all you really need to do is to drag and drop your local settings file. If you want to make use of Canasta's built-in MySQL database, then you just need to edit your database settings to match Canasta's, and that takes 1 minute. You can use Varnish and HTTPS with 0 additional configuration thanks to our usage of Caddy. You can load Cirrus Search and Visual Editor from Canasta's extension repository by simply adding 1 line, the upload extension. You don't have to undergo any of the configuration that's usually necessary with those. So I've been talking about how Canasta makes things so much easier, but I want to give you now an idea of how it differs from what you usually do. So let's walk through how to upgrade MediaWiki, comparing both vanilla and Canasta. And by vanilla, I mean like when you just download MediaWiki.org and do that regular stuff. That's what we're talking about. So the typical arduous process involves backing up, downloading, replacing, downloading even more, replacing even more, and then finally going through a manual upgrade process. And in the middle, maybe you might need to chmod and chown some stuff too, right? But with Canasta, this is simply reduced to pulling the stack repo to pull the latest updates, modifying 1 line of the config file, plus running 3 commands, which in reality can be ran all at once, like I showed here. And all you have to do is pull the latest image after that and restart the Docker stack, which is what the last line does. And soon we even have a command line interface. We have a command line interface, but we'll soon have a command to go do that all for you. Why does Canasta have such a different and simpler upgrade process than vanilla MediaWiki? So at its core, Canasta is Docker-based tech stack. That's what allows us to have easy setup and deployment. And it gives us a platform-agnostic guarantee of consistent functionality as well. The main Canasta web application consists of MediaWiki, Apache, PHP, bundled extensions and skins, and other supporting components, supporting services like MySQL and Elasticsearch run on separate containers. We provide this stack on GitHub in multiple flavors to clone and use for your own instance of Canasta. We currently support Docker Compose the most, but we launched basic Kubernetes support recently. I'll talk about that later. And we're currently planning for AWS and Azure support in the future as well. So okay, there we go. The Canasta container stack is currently comprised of 5 containers. The Canasta container in the center is what contains MediaWiki, PHP, and Apache, as well as maintenance scripts and the like. So it's basically the main core of everything. A separate MySQL container provides the database of the wiki. The Elasticsearch container powers Cirrus Search. Above the Canasta web server is Varnish, and above that is a TLS termination proxy called Caddy, and that's what provides the HTTPS certificate. Varnish is natively supported by MediaWiki and is an HTTP accelerator, so it provides the caching of the wiki when you're not logged in, and it proxies requests to the Canasta container. Finally, Caddy proxies that HTTPS traffic to Varnish, and then provides that 0 configuration HTTPS certificate. So how do we represent MediaWiki as normal while adding Canasta-specific functionality under the hood? Well, our image essentially acts as a compatibility layer. So normal components of MediaWiki are bind-mounted from the stack repo in the host OS into the container. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. This slide's not really for you, but just the TLDR is it's really cool. Behind the scenes, we add Canasta-specific functionality and combine that code with the stuff from the stack repo in the host OS. MediaWiki runs on a combination of these 2 things. Anything behind the scenes is tucked away within the Canasta image, so it's not directly accessible from the host OS when the container runs, and in fact, it should be accessible anyway. Looking specifically at how local settings.php works in Canasta's tech stack, the end user will still have the same local settings.php that you use on vanilla MediaWiki. So there's no need to modify it or add anything specific for Canasta to work. There's also an option to place snippets of PHP files in the settings directory. So if you wanted to break apart the local settings.php file into modular chunks of PHP code, then you could add it into that directory. So I know some of you guys are, use Unix a lot. If you have, those directories that end with .d, that's basically what the settings directory is like. And the benefit of this is you can easily add or delete files to immediately add or remove functionality or settings from your wiki rather than having to go into one monolithic file, find the line, edit that, and remove it. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we streamlined that with our CLI. So yeah. So Canasta's tech stack is also designed to be officially extensible and modifiable. You can take the base Canasta code and reuse, repurpose, or override features of it to get what you want. This is particularly helpful for those who need to make their own image with their exact specifications, but don't want to use the exact structure of Canasta, and also don't want to maintain their own, separate Docker stack. Or if you want to only use some of Canasta, you can still cherry pick what's in the existing Canasta image. And that might be helpful for like OpenCSP, for instance, which we'll talk about tomorrow, about how OpenCSP works, but I'll just give you a small sneak peek into that. Canasta and OpenCSP, there is that possibility of eliminating stuff from Canasta in order to bring in the OpenCSP stack. But again, I will let Wikibase Solutions talk about more of that tomorrow. The point is that Canasta is super extensible and very customizable. You can take stuff out, you can put stuff in, and it's all you have to do is make your own Docker file and use Canasta as the base image. And so as long as the changes are made to the right place, which we will tell you how to do, then Canasta offers to even, or even support those changes even as we add new functionality. So Canasta is both beginner-friendly and suitable for MediaWiki experts. And a consortium of companies have already begun to use Canasta for running the wikis of their clients. Speaking on behalf of WikiWorks, WikiTech, and MyWikis, I can say that we have all benefited from the decreased setup time, ease of applying updates, reduction of services to maintain, greatly simplifying maintenance of the remaining services, and ability to scale the wikis using the orchestrator, whether it's Docker, Compose, or Kubernetes. It's given us the time to work on more exciting development projects while still giving a great experience for our customers. Over the past year, Canasta contributors have worked together to decide what extensions and skins are worth bundling with Canasta to provide a complete array of functionality. We have about 100 or so extensions bundled with Canasta right now. They're not enabled by default, but they can easily be enabled at any time without having to download anything additional, as I talked about earlier. The general criteria for the extensions and skins we have picked revolves around their relevance to users of MediaWiki, as well as the activity of development on that extension. So while we have picked many extensions that add lots of great value to MediaWiki, we don't want to pick extensions that are redundant, nor do we want to pick any extensions that won't be maintained. So this way we can try as much as possible to reduce any issues with upgrading to the next version of MediaWiki when it comes out. And that is particularly salient for the upcoming release of 1.39. We wouldn't want any extensions in Canasta to be there that wouldn't be compatible on 1.39. The last component of Canasta is currently a work in progress, but sits atop the technology. Wikis are only as useful as the content that they have inside of them. Without a good page structure, supporting templates, forms, and data structures, it's very difficult for many people to overcome the blank page problem and contribution inertia. So page packages are a recent concept introduced to ship pre-made pages to the wiki as a starting point. One way you can do this is through the page exchange extension, which facilitates the packaging format and the importation, modification, and deletion of those packages. Canasta bundles the page exchange extension, which makes adding packages a breeze. And in the future, Canasta will aim to add more unique features to support the installation of packages, including through the CLI, the command line interface. So we hope these will empower Wiki champions to facilitate adoption of MediaWiki among the organization. Now, since Canasta's initial launch back in April of this year, we're happy to announce that the US Space Force is currently preparing to use Canasta to run their wikis. And they have publicly released what's called a hardened version of Canasta that's been certified as secure by the United States Department of Defense. And I think we've heard inklings that the MediaWiki stakeholders group and Wiki Apiary are also interested in using Canasta to run their wikis as well. Some large wikis, including clients of WikiWorks, such as Family Search, have also been using Canasta for many months now. I want to just add a disclaimer that this is not, they're not endorsing Canasta, but I am telling you just people who are using it. Now, one of the extensions Canasta includes, as we know, is Semantic MediaWiki. And since it's included, all you need to do to install Semantic MediaWiki on a Canasta instance is to, for version 3 of Semantic MediaWiki, add the enable semantics function call in multiple settings. In addition, several prominent semantic extensions are also bundled with Canasta and can be installed with just one wfload extension function call. And for Semantic MediaWiki 4 and above, once we get Semantic MediaWiki 4 on Canasta, then you just add the wfload extension for Semantic MediaWiki as well. But there's no special installation procedures beyond that. We all know that Semantic MediaWiki is a very powerful tool for enabling data, but many of us are also aware of the technical challenges involved with running Semantic MediaWiki. So for instance, a functioning job queue is necessary for Semantic MediaWiki to propagate changes to its database tables. These problems are resolved by Canasta's built-in job queue runner. Even when maintenance scripts need to be ran manually, it's possible to run them via Canasta, just as you would do so with the regular MediaWiki instance, as shown here. In addition to Semantic MediaWiki, how would Canasta work with OpenCSP? So I have talked with Wikibase Solutions, and I'm happy to announce that it is possible to install OpenCSP on Canasta. I think the installation procedure would be slightly different from the way it would be done on vanilla MediaWiki, but what the benefit of using Canasta as your base for OpenCSP would be is you can just skip all of that, downloading MediaWiki, setting up Elasticsearch by yourself, etc., and you get all of that tech stack just working, and those just so happen to be the prerequisites for running OpenCSP, like Elasticsearch, right? You can just, Elasticsearch is bundled with Canasta, and you can get it to work with OpenCSP easily. And because Canasta lets you, add user install extensions, it's very easy to just add those onto Canasta and get it running. So on behalf of Wikibase Solutions, stay tuned tomorrow for their presentations tomorrow. Now, since we publicly launched Canasta in April of this year, we've made large strides in the project. So I want to give you some updates now. So first, we have created the Canasta CLI, which is now the easiest way to install and manage a Canasta instance. Second, we've launched Kubernetes support in beta for Canasta, so you can now use that instead of Docker Compose. Third, per community consensus, we've removed the CF load functions, which were formerly used to include the bundled extensions. So now you can simply use wfload for loading both bundled and user-provided extensions. Fourth, we have been releasing updates to support all new minor versions of MediaWiki. And finally, as I talked about, the US Department of Defense has released a hardened version of Canasta, and you'll be able to use that image instead of the regular image if you'd like on the, we have instructions for that on the Canasta website, which is, canasta.wiki. And a little bit more information about that hardened image. It might be several versions behind, several minor versions behind. So if you want the latest and greatest, then it's best to use Canasta. But if you absolutely need something secure and you trust in the United States Department of Defense, which may be a hard sell for Europeans, then you can use that. So today I'm excited to announce something new in Canasta, which is going to be our CLI. It's been released as of last month, and it's now the easiest way to install, run, and manage Canasta. So right now, you'll be able to perform almost all of the possible actions in the Canasta lifecycle, and the remaining actions are slated to be implemented in the coming months. So first, let me get some concepts off the ground. Each Canasta instance has an ID. So what does that ID mean? Well, the CLI supports multiple instances of Canasta per server. So the CLI requires each instance to be assigned one ID. So you'll be able to run the Canasta command from any working directory as long as you specify the wiki ID. And as long as you specify it, you'll be able to run all of the functions, like, you know, installing, importing, or enabling extensions and stuff like that. The CLI is super easy to install. So as long as you already have Docker installed, for which we already provide installation instructions on our website, as long as you have Docker Compose as well, then you can run one line to download and install the CLI in your system. So some quick credits. Our CLI was developed by Amal Paul when he was a contributor in this summer's Summer of Code by Google. The CLI is written in Go, which means there's no prerequisites for any interpreter to be installed on the system running Canasta. So no need to install Python, no need to install PHP, and definitely no need to install Java. The CLI stores configuration data in a file called etc.canasta.conf.json. We provide a pre-built Linux x86 binary by default, which is what will be installed with the provided command located on this slide. But you can build it yourself, of course, if you need it for like AR64, also now incorrectly known as ARM64, or even an Intel Mac if you need that as well. And as a final note, we're intending to add Kubernetes support for the CLI in the future. For those of you who don't know what AR64 is, if you have one of those new M1 Macs, that's what architecture runs on. All of our phones probably also run on ARM64 as well. Yeah. And a lot of servers these days even use it, and they're cheaper on AWS if you use those. Anyway, let's take a look at how the CLI makes things easier by comparing a procedure that doesn't really have a clear-cut way in vanilla MediaWiki, which is backing up your wiki. So it goes without saying that backups in MediaWiki are not straightforward and have to be engineered manually. And with Canasta, it's as simple as using the CLI's restic backup commands to easily back up and restore the entire wiki. And so to give you a glimpse of the CLI, now let's go through a demo of installing a Canasta wiki using the new CLI. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a seat and show you through. All right. So what I have here is a AWS EC2 instance, and it's publicly accessible, and I will give you the link very soon. But first, what I'm going to do is
everything is zoom into
yes,
a lot.
yes. I don't know how to use a Windows computer. I know. Don't tell my boss that. Yeah, it's very difficult to use Linux on here.
I think we're not gonna help.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
You know how to use a Windows computer, don't you? Yeah, but what is this?
Oh boy, what just happened? Shoot. No, not that. Okay.
You can just maybe control it plus. No.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'm really sorry, guys. How about I explain? I'll talk out each command that we run. So first, I'm going to delete the existing thing that we have, but in the meantime, let me give you some more updates. So some current development goals. Our main development goals for the future are related to MediaWiki 1.39 support and running multiple wikis on the same Canasta instance, which is also known as wiki farms. So we want to add that support for wiki farms in here. So with 1.39, there are several new features that need to be added. The primary change will probably be support for YAML configuration. While this is not yet a very common option for editing the wiki settings, it's a new feature nonetheless. So Canasta will aim to support this in the coming months after 1.39 is released. It'll be much easier to give this support for the YAML configuration because of our recent changes that removed the CF load extension and CF load skin functions. Trivially, we'll also guarantee that any extensions newly bundled into vanilla MediaWiki by the Wikimedia Foundation will be included with Canasta as well. But we don't expect any changes to be made on our side because thanks to our extensive library of extensions and skins, we most likely already bundled them from the very beginning of Canasta. Okay, let me quickly jump back into this demo. So what I will now do is I will create a wiki. It's going to be located at smwcon.mywikis.eu. So we can go to this as well. And right now it's not working. And I know what you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, this happened at SMWCon, Jeffrey did it again. Don't worry about it. So this time I'm not panicking. So I know what I'm doing, don't worry. What we're gonna do now is go through how to get that wiki created. So I'm gonna first create the admin password. Okay, and then it's gonna create Canasta. So I'll explain what's gonna happen. So it's going to install all of the necessary files, get the Docker image loaded, and then if you load it for the first time, like now, you're going to get a guru meditation error from Varnish. And so this is expected because what's going on right now is that inner Canasta image, that container actually, is setting up right now. It's running update.php, and the database is also getting set up. So this is all done automatically from the backend. Now, as you've seen, we have not gone to the MW config website at all, right? So we haven't even touched Docker. I've not yet run Docker once. So I think if we give it another minute or two, the setup process still takes a while, right? It should be done. And now if I log in, if I reload the page, we have a fully functioning MediaWiki instance. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to enable some extensions. So first, let's enable Visual Editor because I'd like to do that. I'm going to first log in, and we can go here. I can press Edit. I think this is an Edge issue. Yeah, there we go. So I force reloaded the page. Yeah. I can say, hello, SMWCon, welcome to Breda. Okay, sorry, Breda. And then save the changes, it works. Next, I'd like to install Cirrus Search and Advanced Search for my search purposes. So all I have to do is just run that one line, that one command. And now I want to search for Breda and this, and it's already here. Look at that. We already have Elasticsearch, Cirrus Search running just like that. And you can do other stuff as well. We have more examples of commands that you can run, but feel free to go to smwcon.mywikis.eu and take a look around. This is running on that EC2 instance I spun up this morning. Go crazy, yeah. But you'll see that it's a fully functioning MediaWiki instance. All right, so what is next for Canasta? So first, to start with the tech stack, there's still many things that we'd like to add to Canasta to make it do anything a MediaWiki sysadmin could possibly imagine or need. So first, we're working on adding built-in memcached support. Second, we're still going to be working on the Canasta CLI and things like that. Let's see. Third, let's go back up to the top actually, for ARM support. We're still going to be looking into getting that working. I think right now we don't have enough developer resources to get onto that. Most of our wikis, are running on x86 servers. So it's usually people's own computers that are running ARM, right? So we've placed more emphasis into the development of other features. But we still aim to get ARM support working. The CLI currently only works with Docker Compose, while Canasta support is now available in beta for Canasta itself. It has to be done manually through your kubectl commands. So we're planning on adding support for Kubernetes in the CLI soon, but it's just a more daunting task since Kubernetes is so more complicated. Again, we also want to add ECS and aggregator instances support. The good news, if you guys are wondering why isn't Google Cloud up there, because if you get Kubernetes support, you pretty much get Google Cloud support as well. And last but not least, we need to upgrade to MediaWiki 1.39. So that will include upgrading to PHP 8, Elasticsearch 7, and more. But our roadmap for Canasta's extensions and skins is pretty simple. So we're going to continue to seek the addition of more useful extensions and skins as long as they fit the criteria shared earlier. So this is the criteria. And basically, we're going to have a community that reviews, extensions and skins for inclusion, exclusion. And we just want to make sure that those extensions also can be upgraded to be compatible with 1.39 when that is released. And we will be identifying and deprecating extensions and skins that are incompatible with 1.39, but we hope that'll be the number for that will be 0, since, as we mentioned earlier, the goal is to only include extensions that are well maintained. So finally, for starter pages and data structures, to be honest with you, I don't think we've made too much progress since we first announced Canasta in April on this one, because there's many permutations of starter pages and data structures for each use case in MediaWiki. So I don't think we have that done just much yet for page exchange, but hopefully more work will be done on that later. Soon rather. In the future, I think we're also going to try to add support for installing these packages via the Canasta CLI. I want to take this opportunity right now to recognize everyone who has begun to use Canasta since our launch at SMWCon this year in April. Without your support, Canasta simply could not be where it's at today. And to keep Canasta thriving in the future, we have 3 asks of the community. So first, Canasta always appreciates new development contributions. We need lots of more work to be done for adding new but essential features. The more contributors and the more users of Canasta, the better it will be for everyone. Second, the future of Canasta is up to the community to decide. I encourage everyone to join the Canasta mailing list at canastawiki.googlegroups.com. Not only will you be able to keep up to date on the latest developments of Canasta, but the mailing list is also where we're going to be making important decisions for the future development direction of Canasta. You can also visit the mailing list for more details on joining our biweekly Cadence meetings, which is new, and it's a forum for synchronously discussing topics pertaining to the usage and development of Canasta. And third, to fund our development, fund the development of Canasta, we need your financial support to sustain our development initiatives. Please talk to me if you are interested in donating to sponsor our part-time young developers to have a stipend to help them encourage them to keep contributing to Canasta. I want to be very clear that this is not for people like me or for your own. This is for people like our CLI contributor. You know, since that they're done now with the Google Summer of Code, Google is no longer bankrolling them, but we still very much appreciate their contributions to the project, and we want to give them the opportunity to continue supporting Canasta in their contributions. So please do talk to me whether you're a company or an individual, if you're interested. We do plan on giving organizations who sponsor Canasta prominent, sponsorship advertising on the Canasta website, and everything related to Canasta as thanks for your gratitude, as gratitude for your contributions. I want to quickly talk about project governance before we wrap up, because we didn't really address this last time. Since SMWCon, we've had so much interest in Canasta that we have a lot of people thinking about using Canasta, and at some point, an open source project is going to need a direction in the future and an idea to decide how to do it. So at the moment, our current governance structure formed from the early contributors to the Canasta project. So as you might know, Yaron Karen, who is best known as the prolific creator of revolutionary MediaWiki extensions, such as page forms and cargo, is currently serving as, I guess, the benevolent dictator of the project. But he hasn't let the power get to his head, and he does not want to do that forever. So a little bit more about that later. But three main companies that have been contributing to the development of the project will be WikiWorks, WikiTech, and MyWikis. We've been working together in contributing development resources to grow Canasta into what it is today, but that was when no one else was investing in Canasta yet. And so now that we've launched, now that we've reached that critical mass in self-propelling ourselves, we have now a mailing list and cadence meetings. We can now give everyone a say. We want Canasta to be governed by the community, not by a few companies. So we are trying to go towards something to be ultimately democratic, letting the community make the final decisions based on everyone's needs. So while we don't have any concrete plans yet, we are currently proposing ideas like organizations who are financial patrons of Canasta. They will have a say in the development direction of the project, and then individuals would always be welcome to contribute and decide freely without the need to be a financial patron. And this way we can fund Canasta in development while giving thanks to the backers. Canasta, if you're new to it, you can visit our website, which is canasta.wiki. Our source code is open source and can be found on our GitHub, and we welcome any contributions to it. We're currently using the GitHub issues page as a central discussion point for bug reports and feature requests of Canasta, although that's more for actionable items. If you have questions on how to use Canasta, use the mailing list. Because I forgot to add it to the slide, but the mailing list again is canastawiki.googlegroups.com. And you can use it to ask questions, you can use it to propose general directions of the project, etc. But yeah, we hope to see you there. Don't be shy. And at this time, I'd like to open the floor to any questions. Thanks for listening to my presentation. Thank you. Eric Jan.
It's a great job, Jeffrey.
You might want to come up here if, or I can repeat your question. No worries. Sorry? You might want to come up here to ask the question, or I'll repeat it. Okay.
Repeat.
Okay.
Possible. So you mentioned some improvements, right? I don't know if they were prioritized, but could you tell us something on the roadmap or the time or the planning it will take to realize these improvements you mentioned?
So Eric Jan's question is regarding the timeline of the improvements. Well, maybe we can go back to the slide that was talking about them. So 1.39, well, quite frankly, that's probably going to be our highest priority. I'm estimating this will take, if we're lucky, a week or two, I think, maybe even less. If we're unlucky, just getting 1.39 to work might take a month or two. Adding the YAML support, that is a wild card because I'm not exactly sure how we approach that yet. I know at MediaWiki last year, not last year, in April, I think the idea was to talk to Daniel Kinsler, but unfortunately we were all busy, so that never materialized. But we do have that idea of how to move forward. Again, this is why we need support from the community to help realize this. And we do have people who are young developers, maybe even younger than me, who are, they have the time and they have the energy to work on Canasta, but they just need that financial support. And I think if we all pitch in to donate and to help fund their, I guess, like an endowment of sorts, then we might be able to get these done earlier. But in the meantime, what I can tell you is Wikitech, WikiWorks, and MyWikis are still going to be actively contributing development resources and time to getting these things done. 1.39 support will definitely come, don't worry about that, because we all depend on it. And Wikifarm support, and multiple domain support via traffic, we're currently working on that. For traffic specifically, you can actually track that issue on GitHub. Well, not really an issue, it's a pull request. So you can take a look on our Docker Compose repo for that. And the Wikifarm support is currently in the discussion phase. It's on the GitHub issues page. Feel free to chime in on that. We have lots of good discussion going on that. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
Thanks.
All right.
There's some questions on Hopin.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Do you want me to read them to you?
Wait.
Don't mess up your screen. I can read them to you.
It's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question is, does Canasta work only with Apache, or is there any Nginx support?
So Canasta decides what you run on for that, right? We don't offer an option to run it on Nginx, and because when you run Canasta, you are using our image, and our image is set to use PHP, 7.4. It's set to use Apache, and it's set to have MySQL support. So we don't have an option to use Nginx, but again, that's because we're sticking as close as possible to the Wikimedia Foundation stack, and they use Apache. Because there might be that one small thing that we never think about that might prevent someone from correctly using MediaWiki or extension of it, because maybe it's because you used Nginx instead of Apache. We never know. We also chose to use Debian because we want to stick close. We want to stay true to the Wikimedia Foundation's way of doing things. So there's not a way to use Ubuntu or CentOS or Arch Linux, for instance, to run it, because there's not really a need. But I am interested in hearing if there is a need to use Nginx. I'd be happy to talk more offline.
The next question is, does it consist of one container or more?
Pardon?
Does it consist of one container or more?
It's multiple containers, and so we have that stack repo. There's a stack repo built for Docker Compose. There's also a stack repo built for Kubernetes. And so what you do is you go onto GitHub, you clone that stack repo code from GitHub, and use that to set up everything. But if you're using the Canasta CLI, then you just run the commands, and it does all the Git cloning for you. We have, I think the image was 5 containers. Yeah. So it's loading right now, but here we go. So each box here represents one container. So we have that Canasta container in the middle that contains MediaWiki running on Apache, not Nginx, sorry. And we have we have Caddy, Varnish, MySQL, Elasticsearch running alongside of it. So it requires 5 containers right now to run.
Is it integrated with Tor and I2P?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I guess whatever the answer is for MediaWiki, right? Let me think about it this way. Well, that would depend on networking, right? So I would defer the question to Docker networking. If we don't have built-in support we don't make changes to Docker networking for this. So I think that would be a question of how to run your server rather than how to do it in Canasta.
And finally, are regular cron maintenance scripts supported?
Are they built in?
Are they supported if you wanted to run your own regular cron scripts on your container?
So I think Wikitech has discussed this before. I don't think it's been implemented in Canasta just yet, but what we do is we run update.php whenever the container is started, and we run the job queue very often as well during the life cycle of the Canasta container. So I actually would have to check to see if we run anything else. But we also do run like the MediaWiki, like media transcoder. If you have like a video. I can't remember if the other stuff is ran, but we try to make it as comprehensive as possible. And if we are missing something, please do suggest it to us. I think it would be very appropriate for us to add, to add more cron jobs as needed. Well, we don't really use cron jobs to run them, but the same principle, add more maintenance scripts to be ran more frequently. I think that's certainly possible as well.
I'm not sure what the nature of the question was, but it's possible that because I know that on some wikis they have their own custom scripts that they need to run to do maintenance in the background and to create pages or the like. So it could be that they're asking about custom maintenance scripts.
I see. Custom maintenance
not
scripts.
Things that would be general.
Okay. To be honest with you, I don't have much context on this. The short answer is I don't think so. Not right now. But if there is a way to schedule these cron jobs on the host OS to run Docker commands to inject them into the container, I think that would be possible. Let me try to find the slides. There was one line of code that in particular would be a good example of this. Yes. So for this specifically, right, we have Docker compose exec web PHP, blah, 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 blah. If you just replace that with whatever maintenance script you need to run, and then put that line into your cron job in your host OS, that might be one way to do it. I haven't checked, but yeah. Well, yeah. Any other questions, guys? Yes.
So Caddy can also serve as a web server, I know. So why do you have a separate Apache web server in the Canasta container and then the Caddy container on top of that?
Yeah, Caddy is a pretty simple web server, I think, and I'm not sure if MediaWiki has support for Caddy. That would be really interesting if it does, honestly. But again, we want to make sure that we're sticking as close as possible to the Wikimedia Foundation stack. So using Apache gives us a guarantee of the same level of support for all of the functions that MediaWiki has, whether you're using just MediaWiki core or whether you're using extensions on top of it. Now the question might also be like, why aren't we just using, why aren't we using just Apache within the Canasta container for HTTPS? It's because installing HTTPS within Apache on a Docker container is not as automated as using Canasta. Excuse me, as Caddy. They both begin with CA. Sorry. So when we use Caddy, or if we use Traffic, which we're probably going to replace Caddy with soon, these are known as TLS termination proxies, and it's a common practice in Docker to use multiple containers and to have each container be the best at its specialty. So in this case, the TLS termination proxy supplies the automatic provisioning and reprovisioning of HTTPS TLS certificates, and it provides the connection between the outside world to within Canasta itself. And one other reason is because we have Varnish in that as a middle layer, right? And so Varnish is a HTTP accelerator. It has to be at a layer above MediaWiki, right? So there's no way that we can put HTTPS within Apache. It could be done, I think, to have an HTTPS layer between Varnish and Apache, but I would say that's maybe overkill. And then, so really, we still need an HTTPS layer on top of Varnish, and that's where caddy port traffic comes in. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
course.
you. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
make way for